All right, this is a end of off-season update before the 2023 season begins. Finished the 2022 season tied for that second wild card spot, and lost the tiebreaker game, so didn't make the playoffs. But went into this off-season like I previewed, thinking I might be kind of aggressive because this is my time to win. All my young players are on cheap contracts for now. I can spend some money in trades and free agency, bring in some salary. So here's what I did. To start, again, I let Brandon Hyde go even after that nice season because of the issues with his relationships and development influence on pitchers, and all my pitchers underachieving. Didn't really want to do that. So Gary Kendall, who was my AAA coach last year and actually went out to free agency, I brought him in. And so coaching in this game is one of the things I think they need to update eventually. It's kind of weak, and unless you go into the guy's profile and look at his specific ratings, which is kind of not cheating, but it's more access than you're given just as the GM. It's really hard to determine who a good manager is. Anyway, so he's got a great reputation, which you don't pay a ton of attention to. Reputation doesn't matter that much in the things that I've read about people who have studied it. But he's had 3 good seasons in a row in Norfolk. Relationships, his development influence is only fair, so that's fine. And his player relationships is average, which has actually changed since I hired him, which I hadn't seen. It was great. And he's has some bad relationships with pitchers, which was also not the deal when I hired him. Which is the main reason that I hired him, was a lot of his relationship influence. And didn't have a bad relationship with pitchers. But at least he doesn't have a low influence on many pitchers. We'll see. I'm not that concerned about my manager, but brought in Gary Kendall. So then what moves did I make? Go to the lineup. Don't pay. This lineup isn't what the lineup will necessarily be, the order. As you can see, everything is the same here pretty much, except for Byron Buxton brought in center field. Like I said, I wanted a really good center fielder, and I knew Buxton was available. He's coming off a very good 2022 in which he put up 4.2 WAR. But the year before that was a bit of a disaster. 2020 was in between. So don't really know what you're going to get from him. He's signed for 4 years at $5.8 million per year. I gave up for him. The main piece was Oscar De La Cruz, who was capable of starting, but he was a real reliever for me in my back end of my bullpen and put up 1.4 WAR last year and made the All-Star game. Abraham Toro, who was the main piece I got back for Trey Mancini from the Astros back in 2020, and just never really put it together for me at the major league level. He's not too old to do so still, but I had other young players that had bypassed him on the depth chart, and he was kind of a bench bat, and the Twins saw value in him. Michael Bauman, whatever it is. He had a nice 2021 for me as far as Orioles pitching standards go, 1.4 WAR. But then last year really tanked. And he's gotten hurt a few times. And he's 27 now. And just like with Toro, he had been bypassed on the depth chart. And then Kyle Brnovich was just a 25-year-old minor league reliever who I don't really see much coming along happening with him. And I got 2 throw-in relievers who, may end up being okay, maybe not. Probably not much of anything special there. So, it's mainly De La Cruz, Toro, and Bowman. For Buxton is the main piece of the deal. So he'll come in center field. He'll bat towards the bottom of my lineup because he's not a great hitter. But he has some pop in his bat. As you can see, Carlos Correa is still there. That's the one thing I might change before the season starts. Might bring in a better fielding shortstop, but there's just no perfect fit. Alex Verdugo, who I was considering getting rid of, he's coming back. Even though he's disruptive in the clubhouse, we'll see how he does. Oh, and then I guess I did sign a backup catcher, Sal Perez of Kansas City Royals fame. He was in AAA last year, all year for somebody else, though. But he's really good defensively still, and he's a leader. That's what I look for in a backup catcher. I want you good defensively. I want you to be good in the clubhouse. Beyond that, man, don't really care because he's going to start maybe once a week behind Rutschman. Everything else pretty much the same. And we'll get into depth charts and who makes the starting roster after spring training. This is just the day before spring training begins. Pitching, we have a new number 1 starter, German Marquez, who pitches for the Rockies in real life. In real life, last season, 2019, 3.5 WAR, and then in the sim, it's put up 3.9, 4.7, and 4.4. That is number one starter material. His FIP, his ERA a bit high, his FIP below 4 all 3 seasons, though. He pitches in Coors Field. He gave up a lot of hits and his walks were up a little bit last year, but he's 28. He's under contract for this year at $15 million, next year an option year for $16 million. And I gave up a lot of relief pitching for him. Luis Severino was the best reliever in baseball last year for me, but I did not want to pick up the $15 million option. So he's gone to Colorado, where he's pitching his free agency walk here in Colorado. Good luck, Luis. But he's going to be their closer. Also gave up Honoris Zabala, who looks like he could be a really good major league pitcher. Put up 1 WAR, 1 WAR for Norfolk last year, and was going to be pitching my bullpen this year. As long as his control isn't disaster, he's going to be good. Fastball and curveball are phenomenal stuff. Above average movement. He's a ground ball pitcher. I just feel like I had enough bullpen depth, and plus I'll give up an ace reliever or two to get a number one starter. Matt Cronin was a piece who was going to be involved in my bullpen next year. He was hurt in 2022, had a shoulder injury, but before that, he was putting up over 1 to 1.5 wins above replacement per season in A and AA as he moved his way up my system. And then Elijah Cabell is an outfield prospect who I don't see able to grow into a legit center fielder with these defensive ratings. He'd struggle with the bat. He'd been below average since his rookie year in 2020 in rookie ball. He was a 6th round pick for me in 2020, and they were very interested in him. I have other outfield prospects I like a lot better. So that's the 4-person package for Marquez. Also went out, and what else did I do? I brought back Matt Barnes. So he's going to be probably the closer or pitching the back end of the bullpen. Of course, I signed him last year to that $7 or $8 million deal, and then pitching 2 2/3 innings for me because he was hurt all year. He had 2 different injuries. But he's still his injury proneness is still normal, just bad luck last year. Signed him to a 2-year deal, $4.4 million a year, but the second year is an option year with a buyout. Then I brought in Andrew Miller. He is 37, coming off a 1.5 WAR season with the Astros. And I signed him to a 1-year, $5.5 million deal, thinking he was going to pitch in the back end of my bullpen, but he's actually even better against lefties. And while this is more than I normally pay a specialist, my owner bumped up my budget sometime, I think in February is when he did it, when the preseason started. He liked my offseason a lot, so he said, hey man, here's more money. So I started looking around for another bullpen arm, and I was able to get Will Smith. This is pretty funny how I was able to get him from the Yankees. The Yankees signed him just this offseason to a 2-year deal. But in looking around for the reliever I was going to get, notice the Yankees were over budget for the year in re-signing Judge, Gleyber Torres, DJ LeMahieu, and they've got Garrett Cole and like every reliever in the majors they've signed to like a $10 million deal. They were actually over their budget. So Smith has been awesome. 2.3, 1.6, and 1.2 WAR the last 3 seasons out of the bullpen. That's fantastic. He's going to be left-handed setup guy for me. And I got the Yankees to eat 45% of the deal at $9.9 million per year is the total, and they're going to pay 45% of that. What did I give up? So basically, Marcos Duplan is a pitcher who pitched well for me last year in AAA. 2 wins and 2.8 wins above replacement. FIP in the mid-3s. ERA last year, 2.66 and 135 innings. Maybe a guy I should have given more chances to at the major league level. Just had so much depth I never really was able to. And the main reason I was willing to move him is because he was going to at best start this year as my long man in my bullpen, and he was out of option years, and I need a long reliever with option years. So when they're tired and gassed, I can send them to the minors for a different long reliever. So I would have liked to have had room for him, but just with my pitching staff the way it is, I didn't. And so, part of the reason I didn't, I'll get back to the rest of that package in a minute, is because I've held on to Weaver, Wood, and Castillo. I decided to roll with as deep of a rotation as I can. I thought about trading one of those guys to make room for a younger player, but injuries or poor performance or just whatever will make room for those guys. I decided this is a big year. So we're going in fully loaded. with 5 legit major league starters established in the rotation. So Will Smith, I also gave up Brian Luzardo, who's a guy I signed out of independent ball a couple of years ago, and he's worked his way up, and he had a really nice year for me in Double-A last year. He put up 3.4 wins, a 128 runs created plus, so well above average player, but he's 25, and that was Double-A. I think at best he's a corner infield bench bat. I don't see him as much more than that. And then Brandon Benavente, who's a guy who had a really good year for me, just because I put him on a rookie ball team because I needed a catcher there. But I don't see him as anything more than maybe an A or Double-A ball catcher. So that is, so added Marquez, added Smith and Miller, kept around all these guys, and then added Buxton. Gary Kendall's the coach. The projections will be, or the season predictions will be out at the end of spring training, which I'll do a season preview post on that. Other stuff that happened, there were some big free agents that moved around. Gary Sanchez went to the Cardinals on a 5-year, $104 million deal. Noah Syndergaard went, of course, to the Astros, 6 years, $150 million. Max Muncy went to the Phillies, 5 years, $68.5 million. Trey Turner, who is okay in this sim, 6 years, $71.6 million to the Cubs. Benintendi to the Angels for 4 years, $50 million. Let's see, anything else? I think there are a couple more. Aaron Nola to the Mets for 4 years, $71.5 million. I guess he's their Syndergaard replacement, eh? And that's kind of the end of the big ones, I think. And then there were some players some arbitration players who signed big extensions. Gavin Lux signed a big deal. 8 years, $179 million. I think he was about to start arbitration. So they buy out the arbitration. He's locked up for 8 years. We'll take him into his early 30s. The Dodgers also signed Walker Buehler to a huge deal. Where the heck is he? Is he hurt already? Huh. Oh, he's coming off a torn labrum. Wow. And they signed him to a huge contract. I don't think this would have happened in real life. Oh, he missed all of 2022. He made 6 starts, but had a 7.3 win season in 2020. And they signed him to a 7-year, $160 million deal, though, at 28. Other deals, Pete Alonso signed a big extension with the Mets. Blake Snell signed a big extension with the Rays. Those were some of the main ones. Trade-wise, let's see what happened out here. Where am I? There we are. Trade log. Outside of mine. Andrew McCutchen, who's still productive somehow at the age of 93, went to Cleveland for 4 prospects. Eduardo Rodriguez went to the Diamondbacks. Back to the Cubs goes Carson Kelly, the catcher. I did trade Brad Hand. What else happened here? I feel like there were maybe 1 or 2 trades. Other interesting trades. Clevenger went from the Indians to the Rays. And that's kind of the end of the trade. So, anyways, I feel pretty good about my team. I'm coming off an 88-win season, and I just upgraded my weakest position, center field. I now have an above-average center fielder. I upgraded my starting rotation, got a number 1 starter who's a legit number 1 starter. Hopefully he doesn't tail off like the other starters I've traded for. Hopefully Hyde was the problem there, and we're on track now. And then I brought in 2 great bullpen arms in Smith and Miller, and brought back Barnes. And Barnes is basically like a new signing because they didn't even pitch for me last year. So I think I can contend this year with this team. This is going to be a really good team as long as not all of these guys bomb. I don't expect Nick Matan to put up what did he put up? 6.9 wins again. Wait, what? It was 7.2. So I downloaded the patch. Maybe they made adjustments now that calculate WAR with the patch. That's weird. Never seen that before. Just noticed that now. I wonder if everybody's WAR is a bit different. Larnach is only 2.7. That is lower. I guess they recalculated at some point in a patch their WAR calculation. Interesting. Anyways, that is all. I will be back with a preseason prediction post after spring training with just a quick rundown of the league. But yeah, this is 2023 is the year of the Orioles. I can feel it.